Left an opening on the Metropolitan Planning Organization Committee, commonly referred to as the MPO. They're having a very important meeting on August the 14th, and I am the only person representing the county on that particular board. We have another opening, and I would like to make a recommendation that Dr. Walker be appointed to that particular board.
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Dr. Walker, I'll get you all the information that you need for our next meeting. Another item listed under my name I'm going to hold is the motion to apply the healthcare insurance rebate fund to all Hinds County employees' insurance premium as a result of the American Affordable Healthcare Act, commonly referred to as Obamacare. Every year, the board has received a refund, and last year was applied to all Hinds County employees to go back and be applied to their insurance. The only reason why I'm holding it is because we have not come up with a specific number as to what each individual employee would be or receive back on their health care premium, but we do know that the county received $88,000 and some change on this particular rebate. So as of the next meeting, we'll have a total amount where each employee will be able to apply this to their insurance, so I will hold that. And I just want to say thank you, President Obama.
Amen.
The other issue that I have is approval to attend the National Black Caucus Leadership Institute in Tunica, Mississippi, Thursday, August the 15th, and Sunday, August 18th.
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? While we're doing that, before we finish it up, we're just traveling by county vehicle. Is there any other supervisor that would like to attend?
Mine's on the agenda, Mr. President. I got it under mine.
I'm going to just make your motion for supervisors and staff because I believe Ms. Davis also had it on.
Correct.
Use my personal vehicle, though.
Oh, you are not?
I'm withdrawing.
Just for supervisors?
Correct.
So, okay.
Okay, now Mr. Stokes is going to use his personal vehicle, so do we need another motion? Because
No, sir, I'll just put by county vehicle or personal vehicle.
Is that inclusive for supervisors?
Yes.
Yes. Be also supervisors.
Yes. Okay. So with that, I think that handles the issues that I have under my name. We'll now go to the Honorable Mr. Al Hunter of District 2. But before I do that, Ms. Callan, do you have something that you need before?
Yes, I was just going to ask if the board would consider allowing an item that I have listed to come next, because we do have attorneys here and business folks in the audience that are anxious to get back to work.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that up to Mr. Hunter. He has 5 issues under his name, 4 issues under his name. Mr. Hunter, you want to go with your issues now?
I yield my time to supervisor.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's yielding his time, so he's not coming. No, I yield my position, not time.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor Hunter. This morning, I have listed on the agenda discussions of right-of-way acquisition process for the Byron Clinton corridor. And I have the companies Priester and Bernini Law Firms, INS, Wagner Engineers. I really have been concerned about the misinformation that was being disseminated regarding the appropriations of funds for the Byron Clinton corridor. So I requested the professionals that were hired by Hinds County to come and explain the Byron Clinton, actually it's the Byron Clinton Memorial Road acquisition process, also to discuss with us how funds are appropriated and to discuss their role in the progress of the corridor. So at this time, I would like for the attorneys to come up and also our engineers to come up.
is everything that y'all have to pass out.
Thank you so much.
Before you get started, I just want to make mention that if anyone else has any other items that they need to pass out to the board, for the sake of keeping the board in order and keeping us moving, I'd like to make sure that the county administrator asks that question so we can get all of these papers, and we won't be moving papers around while we're trying to have a board meeting. So we need to make sure that we do this at every meeting, where we won't be moving papers around and keeping things in order. So good morning, gentlemen, and we'll just go. Everyone would just state their name before they start speaking and give us an update as to what you're going to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I'm Bill McDonald with Wagoner Engineering. And as you're aware, and for the benefit of the newer supervisors, Wagoner and IMS Engineers have a joint venture of which we are each 50% owner and are under contract to the Board of Supervisors for the planning, design, and right-of-way acquisition for the Byron Clinton Rail Corridor. And I will just give you a very quick 2-minute review, again, for the benefit of the newer supervisors. As you will recall, the Byron Clinton Rail Corridor has been in the planning and development process since the 90s. And during the 90s, the Board of Supervisors began the planning process and saw the opportunity for this program. And it wasn't until about 2002, and this begins sort of the summary of the funding that I've handed out to you on that second page particularly. But in about 2002, the county received its first appropriation of federal money. Several $100,000, about $600,000, $700,000. And the purpose of that funding was to allow the county to undertake the requisite route evaluation and selection and the environmental assessment and screening for those alternative routes, and then to select a route. And that's part of the very careful and deliberative process that the Federal Highway Administration administers for a program like this. You go through that process, you follow due process, select your route, and then do your environmental analysis. And then Federal Highway approves that and issues a finding of no impact. And then that begins the formal approval and development process for the project. And then what that did, then it allowed the county then to begin receiving fairly regular appropriations of funding from Congress, beginning again in about 2002, all the way up until about 2012 when you received your last grant. So over that decade of time, as you see on the information I've handed out to you, Hinds County has received a total of $38 million and a little bit more in federal appropriations directly from Congress, specifically for this program. And again, that has not occurred in a one-time allocation. That was over about a decade of time, year by year. And the most significant portion of that came in 2005 with the passage of the Highway Trust Fund, in which this county received just at $20 million in funding. So that's allowed you then to begin to accomplishing the work that's been completed today, which is the planning, environmental review, the design, and now you're into that to the right-of-way acquisition, which our staff is going to, some of our other team members are going to summarize for us.
Okay.
Did you say Highway Trust Fund, Mr. President?
Right. Okay. Continue, please.
That's right. So, and we can answer any questions you have of that, but that's just a very quick summary of that. One more point about that, most of those federal funds have a local matching requirement. Not all, but most of them do. And if you take that $38 million and apply the necessary matches from which those particular accounts have been drawn, then you'll see that the county has a direct match requirement of about $6 million against those specific $38 million in funds.
Okay.
And some of that has been spent and drawn down, but That
So
just
it
gives you
means it will be less than 6 million now.
That's right.
Thank you. All right, continue on, please.
Question, Mr. President.
Question.
You stated that at the 212, the last grant, we should have about 38 million. That was over 10 years.
That's right. Over the past 10 years, that's the total that the county has received from Congress.
Okay. To complete the whole project from A through Z, how much would it cost?
Did you see at the bottom of that same page, you see that $80 million figure?
It'll cost 80 million.
The activities that remain today to be completed, we've estimated or approximated will be about $80 million.
To complete the whole thing,
That's right.
$80 million.
And as you'll see, also, you've spent today in the things that you have completed, some construction, some right-of-way acquisition, and other planning and design. You've spent just over $14 million.
Okay.
And so
Where would you think the 80 million will come from?
there are,
With this United States Congress we have now, that's laying off people, where it's going to come from? Because I think the 39 ain't federal. So the chance of getting 40 or 39 votes from this federal government is slim to none.
at this point, that's an accurate assessment.
Well, I have a suggestion. My suggestion is that Clinton and Biden let some others. Let them put some skin in the game. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Continue on, please. Who's the next person? Are you?
In answer to Ms. Calhoun's request, I think she wanted just give a brief summary of the right-of-way acquisition process.
All right. Well, we have another question from Supervisor Hunt.
Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
My question is, you said that the perception of this project started back in the 90s. However, we received first federal funds in 2002. We have spent over $12 million in acquisition and design.
And construction.
What
Construction of the southernmost segment from I-55 up to Davis Road, Sywell Road, 5-lane portion of Sywell Road.
That was part of this project?
Yes, that's the most recent construction that's been completed on the project.
That's my first time ever hearing of any actual construction. Everything else been designed and planned stage. Now we got some construction.
That's correct.
And it came out of these funds. Is it indicated in this information that you gave?
Yes, sir. If you'll see on that, right in the middle of that front page, you see where it says construction of segment 5, Sywell Road, $3.9 million.
My next question is, when I looked at those pictures, I spent some time over the week looking over, and I see you have blue area, orange area, green area. Are those whole areas just the easement for the road? How much land are we acquiring when we make an acquisition?
When you acquire right-of-way for the road, it's on average about a 110, 120 foot wide corridor. So you're just basically acquiring the right-of-way for that 18-mile corridor at about that width.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and continue, please.
I've got accompanying me Tommy Avant from IMS Engineers, Charlene Priester, Sam Kelly from Priester Law Firm, Brini Law Firm, and then Joey Case from Wagner.
Okay. If they would just continue on giving us their...
Mr. President, can I ask one question before you leave?
Yes.
And I don't know, again, whether you're the lawyer or not mentioned before. If we got right away, we've done some things, if this project is not complete, and the money that's been spent, where does liability lie?
The county, the money that the county has spent or might spend in the future is authorized to be spent by the Office of State Aid Road Construction. They only do that when they know that the activity they're about to fund can be completed and it will be there will be a viable product after it's completed. So they will not allow the county to go out and spend money on some incomplete activity or some activity that may be left incomplete that they'll then have to refund. They only allow money to be obligated as you can demonstrate that you have a viable component of the project that can be built, for instance. So you completed the Sywell Road segment, that's a standalone functional road right now.
Okay.
And so each segment will progress that way, so they will not allow you to obligate funds if they're...
So we're saying the complete part, right? I know you're saying phase, and all the money gone, and you got two phases, one in the north, one in the south. Then we own all this right away. What we're gonna do, make a bike trail out of it? I'm talking about a complete parkway. What then happens to liability? Will y'all be liable under y'all bonds? Who gonna be liable? Out of everybody up there, what liability stand?
You're going to have your board attorney answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Continue on, please. Mr. Eggman or Ms. Priester, or who wants to...
If I can, I'll direct your attention to the acquisition services because that is the area that the law firms have been involved and engaged in. Principally, what we have been doing is after the acquisition team identifies the landowners and they have either agreed to sell the land to the county, or they have, in that case, we would prepare deeds and do a loan closing. Or if, for example, the land is encumbered by, it might be airship property or something like that, if we have to do curative work, we will do that. Or if the land is such that the landowner does not want to sell the property for this to the county, we would come to the board, and many of you will remember that you signed resolutions authorizing us to use the condemnation process. And if that occurs, then we will file suit over in Hinds County Court of Eminent Domain, and then seek to get possession and or title for the county of the land. The process is one that is ongoing. We've made a lot of progress, and as the handout indicates, there are segments where construction is either complete or ongoing. The short answer is that we will need additional funding to complete, and that is in the purview of the board.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I have Sam Kelly with me here from Finland.
Okay, Mr. Kelly.
The only point I'd like to clarify, I know Supervisor Stokes, just to be clear with respect to the spending of the money that this board approves that goes to the Brunini Law Firm is not just for attorney's fees, it's also for the acquisition of property. So the overwhelming majority of those funds that are approved to be paid to the Brunini firm are placed in a trust for purposes of acquiring the property for the individual landowners along the corridor project. So that's the only additional comment.
Do you have the breakdown, how much going to the trust and how much you pay?
I don't, Supervisor Stokes, but I will get that to you so you'll have that information.
Thank you.
Sure will.
Okay, Mr. Eggman.
I don't have anything.
Okay, Mr. Case.
My name's Joey Case with Wagner Engineering. The board members are fairly familiar with me as we meet on these acquisitions. We heard just from Supervisor Hunter a short time ago that he wasn't aware of construction on segment 5, and I think that's important that we maybe touch on where we are on these segments right quick. The map that I handed out to you guys also correlates with the one up here. Segment 5 is the bottom right there, the red there. That is from I-55 to Davis Road. That is an overlay that was completed. So that was your official start of construction. That has been completed for a while now. Section 2, if you'll pick up there on your blue, goes from Davis Road to Parks Road. We are currently, we have one parcel, one small piece of one parcel left to acquire, and that segment will be completed. The right-of-way acquisition of it will be completed. We will then move to the demolition of buildings and things of that nature that the board has already acquired, which would include some gas stations and things of that nature. But there are some demolition at that point. That particular segment will be, the county will be in complete control of the right-of-way needed for the project, and construction will be able to start at that point on segment number 2.
Do we have a time frame?
I would say that you have relocation, so the final people, the final owners that have accepted their offers that have to be relocated in terms of business or homes, they have 60 days. So you would probably be looking at, in the term of the next, say, 90 days, I would think we should be able to get close to start the demolition of those buildings and the gas tanks and all those issues.
So this just estimate based upon how the demolition will go?
Well, it's based on the fact that the property owners have, due to federal statute and laws, they have a certain number of days that you have to give them, even after they accept the purchase price for their property. You have to give them so many days to relocate and get in and clean out the property. Yes, sir, that's correct. We couldn't start demolition until that time expires.
Thank you.
We do have ongoing right-of-way acquisition in all these segments that you see on your map there. Section 1 at the north end near Interstate 20. We are down pretty much to that end. All the parcels that would agree to sell have sold, and the other remaining ones have many airship issues, multiple owners, and some of those will have to be condemned due to those issues. And that, as you know, that process takes time when you're trying to run those folks down.
Okay, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you. How many different segments is it?
5.
5 segments.
Yes, sir.
And I kind of want to follow up on what Supervisor Hunter asked. When we're buying the right of way, are we buying acres? In most cases, are we buying right of way to complete the segment? And then, let me get that answer first.
Well, the number, the size, and the number of acres, or the size of each parcel that is purchased on the corridor will depend on the route has been designed and approved by Federal Highways. So one particular owner, you may take 500 feet of his property. One particular owner, you may take 20 acres. So the appraisal and the amount that each one is paid is simply based on how much actual property that you need from each individual homeowner. So, some people you're only going to flip a corner of their property and need a very small amount. Some people you're going to go right through the middle and you're going to need a large amount. So those amounts vary from parcel to parcel, just depending on how much of their actual property is in the right of way.
Which property owner do we take 20 acres from? And how much do we pay?
I don't have the prices right here, but we had some large owners on the north end. The Gaddis Farms was a large property owner.
20 acres?
I'm not sure the exact acres. That was an example.
10 acres?
Somewhere around that 10 or 15 acres, yes, sir.
Estimate how much you pay?
I don't have those.
$2
numbers.
million?
No, sir, it wouldn't be $2 million.
$1
Do you have
million?
those numbers, Tom? I don't have those numbers. I mean, those numbers, if the board has approved those purchases, those numbers are of public record. You don't have that.
Okay, Mrs. Calhoun.
Yes, Mr. Kane, would you also explain that for the area up near the Norrell Road, Fulton area?
Yes, ma'am.
We have expended approximately 2 or 3, I can't remember the exact amount, but that's part of the corridor estimate. Mr. McDonald, do you look at it now, please?
Right, you're speaking of that the newer, relatively new interchange at I-20 and Norrell Road. And the county did have some costs that were expended in that project. And I seem to remember it was 2 or 3 million, something like that. But the county does have some interest in that, and that was probably very early on.
Dr. Walker.
Real quick, when land is acquired and you go through the acquisition process, are we billed at your rate or the rate of the person who actually does the work and let me tell you where I'm coming from. A whole lot of money has been spent, and I think that maybe we have too many people working on it, and we expended a whole lot of money that could probably best go towards construction and other things. It's taken a whole lot of time, and I want to be very clear, but I support the project. I was thinking the other day, looking at this project, that I was born in Vicksburg, and Highway 80 was there before I was, So, in terms of growth, progress, economic development, there are things that you have to do. Sometimes they're a long time coming, and oftentimes we take things for granted. And I would hope that we could look at cost containment and other things that would enable us to put more money. I mean, we have a whole lot of money, and sometimes we just waste it by having every Tom, Dick, and Harry, involved. But I'm concerned about the rate that we're moving at, and doing it, being as good stewards as we can be of these monies, so we can go and get the thing done, get it finished, do the segments. If we have to buy 20 acres for a strip that's 200 feet wide, maybe we're wasting some money.
Supervisor Walker, basically the engineers handle the design. I'm just in charge of trying to get the property acquired. In terms of what the rates that are billed and things of that nature, it would be whatever's in the contract with Hinds County. I don't know what those rates are actually.
Well, my basic, one of the questions was, is Hinds County billed, or is this project billed at your rate, or whoever, your rate, or the person who actually does the work on property acquisition? And you may not have that answer, but I think we need to start looking at little things like that so we can get the most mileage out of the available monies that we have.
Okay, Mr. Hunter, and then Ms. Calhoun, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
I think Mr. McDonald was going to address
Okay.
Supervisor
Well,
Walker.
just very quickly, Supervisor Walker, the contract for acquisition, for management of that acquisition process, that rate structure, and we'll provide that to you, that's in the contract, but that is a sort of a unit closing structure based on per parcel that is closed for various activities. That is pretty much, that rate structure is prescribed and approved by MDOT, because in their normal acquisition process, we pretty much have to live within that, so to speak. So I can assure you, we're all as frugal as possible. But most of that is paid, to answer your question, directly to appraisers, review appraisers, acquisition agents, property managers. All about 6 or 7 steps that Federal Highway and NDOT prescribe that have to be completed, and they're pretty in that structure, pretty much at their unit rates.
Okay, Mr. Hunter. Okay, that's all. You can shut it.
We can I want to see some things. You hear about it a whole lot. You never see things. I want to see some stuff.
Okay. Now, Supervisor Hunter.
Well, the whole purpose of this corridor, I guess, when he was talking about it in the maintenance, was proposed to be an economic development type engine. But a name has been a long time, and do we have, maybe y'all can answer, do we have a lot of any interest of developers or anybody planning to come to this area? Or do we need that to the economic development section?
I think that's best answered by the Economic Development Authority.
Okay. All right, Blake, you want to answer that? Answer his question? Just come up and give us your name, then we'll go from there to Ms. Galvin, and then we'll finish up with this.
I'm Blake Wallace, Executive Director of the Hinds County Economic Development Authority. Yes, there is interest from developers that will be looking at the corridor. Right now, it's just interest because really a decision has to be made and something has to be in place. But we will also immediately start marketing the corridor as well. So if your general answer is, will things locate along the new route, the answer is yes, they will. And it will be various type things.
Okay, let me just ask a quick question. That's based upon what type of analysis?
Well, that's based on what you see on any other corridor of this type that is built, and then it's based on inquiries that we get from time to time about the status of the corridor. So you are going to have people interested in it. The land you will see along the corridor as you develop it, it will start being utilized for its highest and best use. And that is going to start moving from agriculture to commercial, industrial, and those types of things.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Calhoun.
Yes, Mr. President, some business owners have expressed an honest, when I say an honest interest in the development of the corridor. Another company just recently called me to set up a meeting concerning their interest in investing in the corridor. The company's representative stated that this company is a multi-billion-dollar business, and they are interested in investing. I don't know all the details. I do have a meeting scheduled with this particular company. But also this morning we have another honest developer in this audience, and that's Mr. Versailles Vance. And if the board would allow Mr. Vance to come up and share what his plans are in reference to the corridor.
Mr. Vance, good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Calhoun, rest of the board members, most of which I know. The new members I do not know. I just met Supervisor Stokes this morning. I am a developer along the Byron Clean Corridor, and I would like to answer a couple of questions. Supervisor Stokes asked how much I sold the county 50 acres for Section 2, and it costs about $212,000, sir. $212,000 for 50 acres. I'm one of the large section owners, Section 2. Partly, we sold about approximately 3 miles of the 18-mile corridor to the county. And my company, Alpha Data Corporation, we're an IT and engineering firm. We have specific plans of developing on this corridor, on my property. My plans include a 50,000 square foot building for doing research and development. Particularly has to do with unmanned aerial vehicles, aerial, terrestrial, aquatic vehicles. My company specializes, that's one of the specialties of the company. We are currently located in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And my discussion with Supervisor Calhoun, Graham in particular, talks about us relocating that aspect of my company to this corridor. And I believe we can attract other like-minded companies as well to the corridor, where it will be an economic engine for Hinds County and increase the tax base for the county and surrounding cities. I believe this will be positive things for the county.
Okay. Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you. Glad to be with you this morning. And know just a little bit about Fort Walton Beach, not a lot. My first concern is this. If you're going to relocate your business to Hinds County, then what banks have you already got a line of credit with? What things have you put in motion to make it a reality? Because in government, we hear all the time, we're going to do this. You know, if we believe everything people say, I'll be showing you a convention center hotel that should have been built almost 6 years ago, but it's empty space now. What have you done to relocate your business in terms of a time frame? I'm going to be in Hinds County in 2013, it's 2013, 2016. What can we put a pin in?
Yeah, Supervisor Stokes, I would respond to that by saying it's a process. And the process is my company is already in existence. We are already doing this kind of work. I'm not relocating my company, just to be correct.
Oh, well, that's what I thought I was hearing.
No, sir. Relocate a division of my company, which is the R&D section.
So the headquarters is going to stay in Fort Walton?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's economic reasons why that's beneficial to me.
Well, why can't we talk you to bring the headquarters to Hinds County City?
Well, sir, I'd be very specific in saying that my company is based on military DOD contracts.
Okay.
Eglin Air Force Base is there, Herbert Field is there, et cetera, et cetera. We do not have the same composition here in the Hinds County area.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. We appreciate that. We appreciate, Ms. Callen, do you have one more question before you wind us up?
Yes, I would like for our economic development director to also address the concerns of these segments that are being built, and if all corridors or parkways or roads or highways built in the same way.
Basically, I guess I would have the same answer that your engineers did. As long as you have a functional unit, and I think all of these are functional units, they terminate at locales where they intersect with other roads, then one of the strategies you can use is to put in a phase. As it grows and develops, then it will generate dollars for the next phase. So you can phase it in based on a combination or a portfolio of revenue. And that could be some bond issues, that could be, it'll be development as well. So you can phase it in, and that would be the suggested way to do it, and that's the way most corridors would develop, is that way.
Okay.
Could I ask this question?
Okay, Ms. Calhoun and Mr. Stokes.
Highland Colony Parkway, and practically every week I'm reading in the newspaper where the surrounding counties are developing corridors or constructing shopping malls or shopping outlets and what have you. Those particular economic development projects, are they built totally, or do they phase in the growth of construction?
The functional units are put in place. Their overall strategy, as you can see over the years, and I haven't been here during that complete thing, is anytime they're making connections with new roads, and that would include us, you're going to see the properties, because you now have transportation. You have to have transportation first to develop an area. So I think all of us can see whenever a new transportation artery goes in, you start seeing the buildup of businesses along that corridor, because our road, it doesn't have to be of this magnitude. So no, those have taken place over a number of years. The Highland Colony Parkway has really transformed since Katrina and made available some GOZO bonds. But until that point, it was growing at a at not nearly the clip that it's doing now.
Okay, so
The road wasn't built today.
Mr. Stokes?
Thank you. Mr. Wallace, in terms of developments, could you identify several developments that you have been involved with here in Hinds County that's successful?
That's successful.
Yes.
Well, we've been involved in all of the developments in downtown, the King Edward Hotel, the Standard Life Building. We've got, those are two that seem to be doing very well. And I would have to, I can get you a list of developments. I think we've sent it over a few times. It has all of the projects that
To what extent the King Edward and Standard Life, because it was my understanding it was a gentleman out of New Orleans who brought the money and owned the majority of everything. So to what extent was your development?
But what we do is we, on part of the county, we analyze the developments for
That's fine. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you coming, giving us an update, as it relates to the Barrow Clinton Norville Parkway, and we really appreciate that. We will now continue with our printed agenda. We'll now go to the Honorable Al Hunter of District 2. Mr. Hunter?
Good morning, Mr. President. What I have today is one of the first items under my name is Hinds County Board of Supervisors and Mayor of Hinds County Partnering Receptions. And what they're going to entail is just a small outreach out to the mayors in the rural counties that somewhat seems to be isolated. And what we want to do is probably have a little reception. The venue is going to be at the Penguin Restaurant in the reception hall. And right now we're tentatively setting the date for the 19th around 6 o'clock.
All right, so is that your motion that we approve this? Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Stokes?
I think it's a very good idea. When we talk to the different mayors, whether it's a new man, some of them don't even know the mayor that's currently in Edwards. I know he's been there a while, and I know Butler's been over there in both for a while, but I think it's good that we have an opportunity to interact with one another. Thank you, sir.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Mrs. Calhoun?
Do we have a sponsor? Do you have a sponsor?
Right now I have a couple of sponsors pending. One is the Mississippi North Contract Association, and the other one is the AMR services. And we welcome any of them.
President, and I guess I need to ask this, would it be legal for the county to do something like this, reception, at Jackson State, the president have receptions, and everywhere they have something where they entertain people and do things. It seems like the county, we got to start doing the same kind of thing, reaching out, and sometimes you can't get sponsors.
Right. Well, I can answer that because this has come up in the past. It is not illegal. I had Mrs. Davis and Mrs. Woods to check with the Attorney General's office, and according to the Attorney General's office, it is not illegal for the county to sponsor these particular type of events and provide refreshments. So it's not illegal for us to do so. So we can sponsor any event that the county deems necessary or productive, as long as we have the votes to do so.
Well, I hope with this item, and I know we're begging looking for money, and I don't know if this is a part of the motion, we won't put a cap on it, but I would hope that if all of these sponsors, some of them fall through, that the county will also get a co-sponsor this.
Yes.
So I so move.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second it because I think it's something that we have to do as far as a county that is an outreach to the community and different organizations. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes.
Are you putting an amount on that?
No, we're just waiting because we don't know what his private sponsors are going to deliver. And when we'll do that, we'll come back and bring it back in front of the board.
When, what's the plan date for this?
The plan date is the 19th
Okay.
in the evening, about 5:30 to 6 o'clock.
Okay, we'll get together and make sure everyone is familiar with what your plans are and everything. Continue, please.
Next item I need a motion for is approval to transfer money from the road surface fund to recreation fund for Mount Olive projects. And the project is to add a fence around the playground.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. Mrs. Calhoun?
I talked with Supervisor Hunter in reference to his request, and I don't think you wanted the funds to be transferred from the road resurfacing funds, because that would not be legal. I think you're looking at the remaining recreational, based upon what you explained to me, the remaining recreational funds that's left in your line item for recreation.
Okay, that's what it says, the recreation funds for Mount Olive.
Yes, but transferred from road surfacing.
Bond, from the 207 bond that had a road line. That's the road line he's referring to. He's not referring to the road fund in public
Okay,
works.
we have to be specific
What we should
for
say
the
from the
minutes.
207 bond road
Okay.
money.
So let's clarify that.
So,
Okay, it's been moved and already second, but we'll clarify from the 2007 Series A or B?
A.
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 B fund, it's been moved? Okay. Okay, Dr. Walker.
what amount?
Yes.
It's $7,000.
How much is left?
You got the invoice?
Yes, but you already had the remaining two. I knew the exact amount. It was a little over 5,000. It's 9 minutes today.
The total cost.
The total cost was 7,000.
And what does that leave in the,
In the reparation fund?
yeah?
In the next,
That was in his section of District 2.
Right, that I think depletes the fund from his section, from section 2. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Continue, please.
I'll get the figure for that from Ms. Woods.
Okay.
So that your minutes are accurate.
All right.
The next motion is a resolution welcoming back Hinds County, Mississippi educators and support staff for the 2013 and 2014 school year.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Okay, thank you very much. Continue.
And one item that was on additional agenda item,
Okay.
it's resurfacing the town of Edwards, town square. And I have a cost estimate from the Public Works Director, Mr. Felix. The money will come from my bond road fund.
And the total on that is?
16,000.
Okay. All right, it's been moved. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Okay, continue, please.
That's concludes my items.
Okay, we will now continue our printed agenda. We will go to the Honorable Mr. Robert Walker, Supervisor District 4. Dr. Walker?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dave, I'd like to add an item, but take it to the list first.
Okay.
I had, and I think a number of us were kind of concerned a few weeks ago when it was pointed out that the economic development group in Hinds County had entered into some kind of agreement with the city of Clinton to be housed there 2 days a week and to work with them in the area of economic development. And my concern, well, I addressed some of the concerns with both Mr. Wallace, Mr. Pumpkin, and members of this board, but I'm really interested and what can be done to work with Edwards, Bolton, Utica, Raymond, Byron, Terry, because all of them, and I think Byron is really moving. Raymond is ahead of the others that we mentioned, but we need to grow these towns and cities that are in Hinds County, because from what I'm gathering, we may not be faring that well in terms of growth with the valuation of properties in the county. And we need to do something in those areas. And also, I was concerned about the Byron, Clinton, Laurel Road corridor and what kinds of things are being done now to sort of push that forward. In other words, where are we going with economic development in Hinds County, and what are we doing and what can be done to help these towns that seem to be left out of everything? Because if they don't grow, based on the trends right now, this county is not going to grow.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be a team effort across the county. You are going to see different levels of growth based on population of the communities and the amount of income that's in the communities and other factors. But I'll start off addressing your first thing. There's no special arrangement between the Economic Development Authority and the City of Clinton. The way that it was parsed in the paper was not exactly correct. What we have done is we have met with all of the communities in the county, and with the exception of Byron, the mayor had to reschedule with us. And what we're doing, because of our strategic planning, which is exactly what you're talking about, how do we start having a plan where we can address things countywide, and really for us as an authority, how do we know what's going on in the communities? So what we've asked them to do is give us a location in their community so that we can go in when we are working on strategic planning and things like that, so that we can actually be in the community and understand what they're doing. So we may go in there. It's just not enough to go to a board meeting or something like that. We need to actually go in, sit down and meet with them and be able to connect into our system. So over 6 years, we've built the technology so that regardless of where we are in the county, as long as we have a cell phone signal, we can pretty much be connected to our main office in Jackson. So we don't have to be sitting there now to get our work done. So now we can get out into the communities and do more. And we've met with a lot of, well, like I said, all of them at once. For instance, we found out Terry has a new fridge coming in, which is going to, I guess they call it the super fridge with the pharmacy and things like that. We discussed with the mayor all of the things that they've accomplished in Terry, the new library, the new firehouse, now the fridge coming in. Their focus on their main avenue, and the mayor has done a very good job of focusing on infrastructure. And while we're there, let's talk about excess capacity in infrastructure. In order to grow, you have to have that. And it has to be transportation, it has to be water, it has to be sewer, because every new company or family or whatever it is that moves into a community, there has to be excess capacity in all of those infrastructure areas to be able to accommodate that growth. Another quick example, and then I'm going to let you have specific questions, but we're working with a company out at the industrial park on I-55, Son McDonald. Looks like we've got the deal closed. They're ready to proceed with purchasing property. But we ran into a serious infrastructure problem, which was a lack of natural gas that we could actually get pumped to the park. Now, we've got it worked out for now, but we've got to look at the future, and now we've got to work with our local gas supplier as well as the distributor that distributes gas to them to find out what we need to do infrastructure-wise so that we can get that natural gas volume up. Because if you don't have that, you will not grow because you won't have the capacity to grow. So in our strategic planning, we focus on capacity. So where we can create capacity and where we have capacity, we'll grow in those areas.
What I really like, Mr. Wallace, for you and your staff, for Hinds County is when we employee, and we can talk about different things that we'd like to see and things that we're doing. I like to see written strategic plans for economy enhancements in Hinds County, and how we would work with these small towns to get some growth and activity going there. So, Mr. President, I don't want to set some timeline on things, but we're working on our budget right now, and there may be some things that we can do, but I feel that we really need to have something in hand by the time our budget is approved.
Thank you very much, and we'll make sure that that happens. We'll go to Mr. Stokes, and then I have a question that I...
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Supervisor Walker for bringing this item forward. When he first came on the board, he said something that just shocked me, but he's exactly right. He said we're not even building dollar stores in some of these little small towns. And that would be a start. It's something we take for granted. And from my days a long, long time ago as a tax collector, you'd be shocked that Utica was really had a car dealership and all kinds of things in Utica. And now you go to Utica and there's absolutely nothing there. And I just believe with economic development, I believe that we need to be working and dealing with Jackson State. You know, I left Nashville this week. Vanderbilt got a new Homewood Suites across the street. All around Vanderbilt is development. Jackson State is the major university in this community. Now, I know Nashville got Vanderbilt, got Tennessee State, but there's no Ole Miss or Mississippi State in Jackson. It's Jackson State. Now, I know the Universal Hospital is a different issue. If we would put some efforts around Jackson State, the economic development and growth could be something that can surprise the world. But we're not even trying to even think outside the box in those measures. The President Jackson State came with a new arena. We can't just talk that we support it. We got to sit up here and talk to these friends that know friends and make it happen. Again, Utica. It makes no sense that Utica looks like Utica looks in terms of nothing happening. And I'm talking about it right there on Highway 18. And I hate to talk about both the Nichols and Supervisor kind of mentioned it to me. When you think about that right there on Interstate 20, people coming, traveling all through the country, coming out of Atlanta, going through Texas. We need hotels. I ain't talking about those places where bed bugs. I'm talking about some major hotels. People will stop and live. You know, when you're tired of traveling, boom, they don't care because you send some good town, whatever. But we got to have somebody think outside the box and make these things become a reality. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Wade, my question deals with retail development. As supervisor in District 1, we have a lot of stores and retail stores on I-55. One of the things that my wife told me is that I could measure my success as a supervisor if we were able to be able to get a TGI Fridays in Jackson. Well, so far I've not been very successful. So why are we not able to attract more retail development along I-55 and I-55 South and Highway 18? Are we not recruiting these retail stores? Or I think I've shared what every supervisor is thinking, and that is when you have a city the size of Pearl with their population, and this is not to hate on Pearl. I think that as the area grows, everyone grows. But I have to think about North Jackson as well as all these other supervisors in their particular district. Sure. Why are we not? Is there a particular reason why we're not more in the game, or I can't get that TGI Fridays for my wife?
Well, there's a combination of factors.
Okay.
The Pearl location is in an excellent location relative to interstate traffic, as is I-55 North. And actually, I-55 North has been experiencing some redevelopment. You have a lot of interest on 55 North. But
Are we recruiting anyone to come to I-55?
well, as they contact us, we have, and yes, we are trying to put in place now a retail recruitment program. However, we need a retail trade analysis to be completed, which I thought we might have approval to do that at our last board meeting, but we don't right now. So retail recruitment is a completely different animal than industrial recruitment. It does not work the same way. A developer normally, let's take the old Bowling School property that Duckworth property is going to be redeveloping. Now that project, his goal is hopefully to be in the dirt by September, so that's coming. The numbers and things along I-55 North are there. That's why Whole Foods is going to Highland Village. Now, the Whole Foods is going to bring in a substantial amount of money. I don't know what TGIY brings in, but I will tell you this. There is a different footprint and scenario for small retail restaurants than there are for other things. So you got to make sure the developers are going to be the ones that do the projects. We're not statutorily allowed to go out and do retail development. So when these clients come,
recruitment?
Yeah, we can recruit, but we're going to have a developer to work with, because they're going to have to, whoever owns those properties along these arteries that you're talking about, right now, most of them are occupied. Now, it may not be occupied by a restaurant, but if you go down I-55 North, there aren't nearly as many vacant locations as there once was. There are Office Depot and all these other units are out there. Virginia College has moved there. Now Whole Foods is there. So there's interest, and we can recruit. And as soon as we can, let me finish mine. We need the economic impact or the retail trade analysis, so that, because those are the numbers that the retailers want to see. We have to complete that first, and we're going to develop some tools to go along with that. But we got to do just a little more work to get to that point.
Mr. Hunter and then Ms. Calhoun.
Mr. Wallace, where, I know we mentioned about the Two Lake project, and I see with the Mississippi Outlet development right across the river that flowed. I think that we may have to try to do a connection between, Flowood and Jackson in certain areas. And the next question is, why can't we put up some billboards or something to kind of promote Jackson, kind of like Madison used to do, put up those nice billboards and tell the positive thing that's going on in their community?
You can do that. The retail trade analysis is what's going to have impact, because developers that are located in other states aren't going to drive by that billboard. The better alternative would be to put the billboards where the developers that are going to be developing have. Our local mayors and our local developers are doing a good job of development. It's a tough environment right now. Money is hard to come by, and but putting up the billboards, I don't think will give you the goal that you're looking for, which are retail recruitment.
It would enhance the image a little bit.
Well, I think if you want to do image enhancement, I would spend the money. Well, we've talked to several of the mayors, and they all have beautification programs going within their community. Bolton, Terry, and now Utica. They are cleaning up, mowing, cutting grass. They're getting the vehicles that no longer run out of people's yards and things like that. That in conjunction with some community signs would be great.
Okay, Ms. Calhoun, and then we go back to Dr. Walker and we'll finish up this.
Yes, being the longest serving member on this board, I can say that the previous boards of supervisors policy has been a focus on industrial and manufacturing development, and the previous boards have left retail development up to the mayors of the various towns and municipalities, and we had a long-standing understanding that the municipalities would focus on retail development and the county would focus on industrial and manufacturing development. Hinds County has been very successful in the area of industrial development. As a matter of fact, we completely filled up an industrial park, and now we're working on that's the one on 55, the Jackson, Greater Jackson Industrial Development Park. And now we're working to overcome some of the obstacles that are keeping us from developing fully the Sonny McDonald Park.
Dr. Walker and Supervisor Stokes.
Well, first of all, I won't say anything else after this little thing before tonight. I want to thank you for coming and for the things that you've done. I'm still of the opinion that we have to work at everything to get what is in the best interest of the people we serve.
Sure.
We have to look at the industrial side of it. We have to look at the retail side of it. And although we don't have any people marching around this building with signs and protest and stuff like that, I hear a call from these small towns that have everything is part-time, even the police, and they need some help. And they look to us to help.
Sure.
It's not just the big cities with the bright lights that we need to focus our attention on, but there are people all over Hinds County who need our help. And and I think that we need to tax abatements is a tool, but if that's all that comes before this board, we're selling ourselves, short. And I look forward to the strategic plan that you'll get to us by mid-September. That may not be completed in final form, but we need to see something about the interests and efforts towards growing this whole county in all aspects. And again, I want to thank you for being here today on relatively short notice, because it was about a week and a half ago that we made contact. So thank you very much.
And I would like just one thing on the strategic plan. Our strategic plan is on our website for download. It applies to the entire county. We don't work in just one particular place in the county. Now, you will see that most of the projects are taking place in Jackson, but it is a big place.
Okay.
But we work everywhere.
But I think one of the really important elements that needs to be addressed is how can we help these small towns grow?
And that's why we are setting up the system that we're setting up.
Okay, we're looking forward to your report.
Supervisor Stokes.
Mr. President, I know they say we have an industrial park, but there's nothing in it. When you look at Holmes County, those small counties, high counties, their industrial parks you have more than we have. And I'm talking about we are a major hub, not just in the state of Mississippi, but in the United States of America. And with some kind of recruitment, I know some of these businesses would be glad to come. Just to say you have it, don't have anything in it, it's not helping the county, in my opinion. Now, in terms of places like Utica, I invite everybody to go out to Utica. They better have, 2 police officers. police officers, and you're talking about economic development staff. They don't have anything like that. That's something like in Jackson. What Dr. Walker is saying in so many words, we have these little bitty towns to grow because they don't have the staff. They don't have the budget to do anything like send people out to recruit and try to get people to come and help them grow. It's up to the county to reap those benefits because they all pay county taxes. Again, Utica is what I represent, and I know Supervisor Hunter represents part of Utica, but go to Bolton and Edwards, they're like time has just jumped over. Nothing really going on. It makes no sense that we allow Rankin County, Madison County to grow and do these kind of things, and Hinds County making excuses. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We will finish up with Mrs. Calhoun, and we'll move to Dr. Walker's next item.
Thank you. I'm pleased that this board has the mindset and the understanding that as supervisors, as Hinds County Board of Supervisors, we represent all of Hinds County, and all of Hinds County should be inclusive in this process of economic development. All of Hinds County.
Thank you very much, Ms. Calhoun. Mr. Walker, continue, please.
We'll go quickly to the next item. We have with us today Mr. Mark Young,